On today's show, we have Gregory joining us talking about this week in the NBA to get you ready for what's going on in the NBA this week. Also, too, we talk some Tiger Woods and some Arizona basketball. Welcome back to the Fan Show. This is our beginning of the week show, so you're probably listening to this on a Monday or a Tuesday. Glad that you could join us, especially too if you have the case of the Mondays. I know how that feels. Getting back to work and getting back at it. It just can be kind of, especially if the weekend was so good. It's so hard getting back to work. It is so hard just getting back in the thick of things. Uh, my weekend personally, I did absolutely nothing. Really, I just went to the gym, had lunch with my father, and that was pretty much it. Chilled with some friends on Sunday. Since it was a rainy Sunday, so it wasn't as active of a weekend as like I had last weekend. But if your weekend's like mine, cool. If not, I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you're getting back into the swing of things, and I hope that listening to the show can help you with that, talking sports, and this is the Fan Show. We are on fansfavoritefan.com. So after you listen to this podcast, be sure to check out fansfavoritefan.com. But make sure the boss doesn't catch you checking out fansfavoritefan.com. Let me just pull it up right now and see what we got going on the website. But yeah, hopefully your boss doesn't catch you checking out our website, reading our articles, and commenting on our articles. But it's looking like, yeah, like I said, if you're Atlanta United, Alvin Kamara, want to know about, you're a fan of Tom Brady, well, then you are in luck because we have articles all about that. Also, too, if you want to catch previous scores on what happened in the NBA and college basketball, definitely check out Fans Favorite Fan to get your score updates. And yeah, that's what we got going on right now at fansfavoritefan.com. So be sure to check out that website for your sports fix, especially if this show didn't do it for you. I know you're going to find something that you like on fansfavoritefan.com. I'm Alex Berger, and we're going to get into the weekend's best of the rest. On the weekend's best of the rest, we are going to talk about a living legend, and we're also going to talk about something that transpired over the weekend in Eugene, Oregon. And this guy I'm going to talk about is probably going to be blackballed for the rest of his life in college basketball. But first, we're going to talk about the living legend, and that living legend is Tiger Woods. Because I feel like I can get why you would probably be burned by Tiger, why there probably would be haters out there with Tiger Woods. I'm not a hater of Tiger Woods. I respect the man, and I respect what he's done with the game. Yes, I'm not gonna say his behavior was rational or acceptable, but I mean, I don't think he should have done that. I don't think he should have cheated on his wife. To me, his morals are a little bit messed up. I mean, he hit that one tree, and all those women fell out of that SUV. And at the same time, it's sad that you saw the decline. But I think what a lot of people forgot about Tiger Woods is that you have to give credit to the man for breaking into the sport at such a young age, because a lot of guys that played the sport didn't really break into the sport the way Tiger Woods did at a young age, because Tiger won his first Masters at 21. His first Masters to win it at 21. And that was unheard of. Winning a Masters that young, also too. I mean, he broke barriers as he was the first non-white male to do that. And I don't really want to focus on that aspect of Tiger Woods. I more want to talk about his contribution that he gave to golf, because there's been a lot of just chatter this weekend about Tiger Woods, but I feel like a lot of people forgot that it was just phenomenal to especially at that time, to win a major like that at a young age. Because Jack Nicklaus was 23 when he won his first Masters. Arnold Palmer was 28 when he won his first. So just off that criteria, he was the first one to be so successful at such a young age. And just the downfall of it all was just tragic. I mean, I think this guy is a living Greek tragedy, honestly. And I hope that we can see some sort of just recovery and just a comeback story to get back to greatness. And I think that's what everyone is rooting for, especially in the golf community, because it would be huge to see Tiger Woods in the Masters and come out with not necessarily a Masters victory, but be able to make it to Sunday and to have a pretty good round. I think that would just show that Tiger Woods is somewhat back. Now, if he wins a Masters, he's definitely back. But it would show, I think, it would show that he's making progress, and that we might see a comeback in the next couple of years. Today at on Sunday at the Honda Classic, he finished 12th, and he shot a 70, which isn't bad. This is the best ranking that he's had at a tournament since 2015, where he's finished this high. So congrats to Tiger just on that finish, because if you look at the beginning of the year at the Hero World Challenge, Tiger Woods tied for 9th. At the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines, he tied for 23rd. At the Genesis Open, he got cut. And now at the Honda Classic, he finished 12th. So he's making progress. He's had some bumps in the road this year, but um, who knows? Even if Tiger doesn't win the Masters per se, we might see him win the British Open or the U.S. Open. I don't feel like that's too far out there of a attainable goal to reach if Tiger continues on this progress that he's on. He gets better and better each tournament. That I could see him winning a major. And I know this isn't a sport that we really talk about. We don't really talk about golf that much, but as the spring goes along, we will be talking about golf. We will have some little bit of a Masters coverage for you. But yeah, so be prepared for the golf talk here on the podcast. Obviously, it's not going to be as much because I know that a lot of you guys are into the major three sports, but we're more going to concentrate on that. Have Football Friday, so if you're a big football fan, be sure to check out Football Fridays. Just putting that little insert in there, but yeah, to me personally, and I'm just speaking for me, for Alex Berger, I wish Tiger Woods the best, and I hope that we can see him on a comeback. And I don't think we're ever going to see him the way he used to be in his career. But at the same time, I think it's nice, and I think it's a little bit reassuring for someone like myself who my grandfather was a big golfing fan and played golf himself, and that was one of the things that he was so impressed with, was as a just how young he was, just how much he carried himself, just the laser focus that he had. And my grandfather never saw someone like that. He watched guys like Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer, and I mean, my grandfather was a huge Arnold Palmer fan, but then he became a huge Tiger Woods fan. And just to give you a little bit of background on my grandfather, like, I mean, he was the probably one of the whitest guys you'll ever meet. To be totally honest with you, I mean, he was from the north, but yeah, I mean, to have just to have that admiration for someone, not because of the background he came from, or not necessarily what his color of his skin was, that it's like having a fair assessment of someone like that. And obviously he was shocked when all this stuff, when his fall came, with the scandal that he was a part of, when he couldn't keep his house in order. So but yeah, like I said, I wish Tiger Woods the best, and I hope he can have a comeback. And once he has a comeback, it'll be the greatest comeback in sports that we have ever seen. So we wish, here on the Fan Show, Tiger, we wish you the best. The other thing I want to just touch on, I don't really want to go into too many details, but at the same time, what happened in Arizona really, I think, kind of takes some heat off of Josh Pastner. Honestly, that the headlines have changed, and the Arizona Wildcats, their head coach, if you're not familiar with the story, their head coach stepped down before the game against Oregon this past weekend, and then you find that the FBI catches him with wire fraud, with paying a player $100 million just so he could sign at Arizona. No, it's kind of one of those things with me that I feel like, wow, this is still going on. This is still going on at these places that that automatically just start winning. Like Arizona, past couple years, had just started winning at basketball, and it kind of frustrates me, especially someone who's a fan of college athletics. I get it that these players are just they're amateurs. That's what the NCAA deems them. But to me, they're not amateurs. They're one step away from a pro career. They're one step away from making millions upon millions of dollars. And honestly, the thing that attracts me to college sports more than pro sports is because it's the love of the team. It's the love of playing for your teammates, playing the game, all that other stuff. And I get it from a player that probably came from a background of nothing, that there should be some sort of compensation. I am for athletes being compensated. I'm not for college athletes making $100 million a month or something, or a year or something ridiculous like that. I'm not for that, but I am for them being compensated in some way. But maybe that's another discussion for another time. But I feel like student athletes shouldn't have to go hungry, or they shouldn't have to. There shouldn't be any money for them to pay for diapers for their kids. So, but at the same time, I'm like, really, this is still a thing. This is still some booster, or now it's some coach, which probably the money got funneled through the coach, through a booster, that's paying a player to play at their school. Like I said, I'm for athletes getting compensated in some sort of way, just not outrageous amounts of money. But at the same time, to me, this is just very unmoral and unethical, the way that this went down. I feel like it's a little bit shady, and honestly, this kind of disgusts me a little bit in a way. That you're breaking the rules, and you're paying this guy like a professional athlete when you're still trying to figure out his worth. And I get to with basketball, you peak at a younger age, and your talent is easily projected to the next level. That it's not like football, where there is some sort of developmental stage. I get that it's like basketball with the development, that you can get into the NBA faster. And honestly, this really sucks for college basketball. And I was in a discussion with one of my friends talking about this, and he was talking about that the NBA is kind of like getting like these European leagues, which you start with the European League. They have these development camps, development facilities, where you're developing your skills all throughout the year when you're younger, and then when you get to college age, you go into NBA D League, and then you eventually get drafted, which is pretty much the process. And like I said, we could talk about that at another time too, but this case is making it clear to get rid of the one and done rule, which um, I'm not a big fan of. I feel like that should either be a 2-year thing or you get rid of it completely. Basketball is just a different animal, and I think this can help get rid of that rule, and I'm glad they're getting rid of it. But on the other hand, it's just sad and it's just disgusting. And now Sean Miller is not going to get hired at any school because of this, and this really blackballed him, I feel like, in the college basketball circle. We're going to have Ned on Thursday, so we'll be able to talk about this. Like I said, I don't really want to spend too much time on it. I think we gave this story that's going on in Arizona enough discussion, but man, yeah, it's another. I feel like it's another case that the NCAA should take seriously, which they're not going to, and it's another reason why I feel like athletes should get compensated, not like pro athletes, but at least they should give them at least enough money, since they're technically working for the university, or at least athletes describe playing ball for the university like a full-time job, and I could see that. I could see that it's a full-time job, and you have school on top of that, and a lot of young men and women that are in college have that kind of same deal, that they work 40-hour jobs and still go to school, or so I feel like this is another case to that opens the door for some sort of compensation. I'm just saying, I don't think a kid should starve, and I don't think a kid should not have enough money to pay for diapers or things that he has to pay for to take care of a family. That's all I'm saying with that. That has been the best of the rest from the weekend. Now we are about to bring on Gregory Mollett to talk some NBA hoops on our NBA Monday.
Mollett, who is favorite fan, NBA writer. So be sure to check out his stuff on favoritefan.com. Gregory, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Just ending the weekend.
I know, Sunday. Got to start the week back over. But, hey, we got some NBA action, so that's fine with me.
Right. And just by the way, if you're listening to this, we are recording on a Sunday, so if anything late breaking that happens Sunday night or Monday morning, obviously this podcast isn't going to cover it because we are recording on a Sunday night. Just a little FYI there. But Gregory, we kind of were talking in the last podcast. We were talking about what the things that kind of the little activities that happen during the All-Star weekend. But we didn't get to talk about the All-Star game because it started a little bit later. But we talked about skills competition, where we rate Kevin Hart, all that good stuff, but we didn't get down to the nitty and gritty of the actual game. So what was your impressions about the game?
I actually really enjoyed this year's All-Star game, and we also took a poll on Fans Favorite Fan Instagram page. If you're not following, make sure to follow at Fans Favorite Fan on Instagram. And we asked was the All-Star game this year more entertaining than the past few years because they've been kind of dull. And an overwhelming amount of people actually said yes. I think it was like between 60 to 70% of people said yes. So that's the NBA actually had, I guess, got it right this year by changing and making it a little bit more surprising because a lot of people may not understood the change, but they obviously enjoyed watching it. Team LeBron versus Team Stephen or Team Curry, however you want to say it. But yeah, I did like the new tradition of the All-Star game where the team captains of the most popular players, I guess you would say, pick their teams and come out. LeBron picked the best team because they, of course, won. But Team Stephen actually took the game from the first quarter to I guess halfway through the fourth quarter, and they actually did a lot better than I expected. But at the end of the game, LeBron's team did win, and he became the All-Star MVP, which could have been just about anybody.
Right. Yeah, I think it's interesting that LeBron James' team won the All-Star game, but at the same time, I think when it really matters that it's going to be Steph Curry's team that will win a 7-game series when it matters the most.
Oh, of course.
So I just thought that was just a little bit humorous on the NBA All-Star game, and I thought it was interesting that LeBron James drafted Kevin Garnett. Could we see in future years possibly them being on the same team? Is that a possibility, or is that just kind of wishful thinking at this point?
I think that's definitely wishful thinking. I know they have like a commercial together, the Uber commercial with Kerry Champion.
Right.
But I don't think they would ever be on the same team at all. I don't think that would ever happen. I think that NBA would veto that like they did the Chris Paul trade to LA. Yeah, I don't think that would ever happen.
Gotcha. Just kind of have to throw that out there because I know probably some people are thinking that. But there's been some noise out in the West. Tell us what's going on in the West. Western Front there.
Well, the Rockets have won about a good 10 games in a row. So they have actually become the new front runner in the West Conference. I think they, of course, are the number one seed, which means they will have home court advantage throughout the playoffs and probably most likely the finals because the West usually is always better than the East. So the Rockets are looking very well so far, but we're halfway through the season. You never know what the Rockets or the Warriors could do within 10, 15 games. I'm pretty sure they're probably a half a game or a game behind each other. So you never know what could possibly happen between now and April and May.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, does it look like the Rockets could somewhat challenge Golden State or
Oh, yeah, most definitely. They definitely can challenge Golden State. But the thing that's always going to come to a head is defense. And, James Harden, to me, that's not his strong suit of defense. That's what the Warriors do. They play defense.
Well, just speaking of the West, what did you think about the game last night between the Warriors and Oklahoma? Because I know ESPN hyped that game up. They talked about those two teams like they were big rivals. What were your impressions of that game, especially with the Warriors being in those all-yellow uniforms?
I mean, the Warriors can just do no wrong. I mean, they could wear a graffiti and tie-dye, and they would still go out there and just chomp teams alive. But they're always going to make this Durant and Westbrook rivalry, try to keep it alive, even though they talked about it and said they don't have an issue with each other. but they might have an on-court spat, but they're not. I don't think they have like a major issue anymore. But from what I see, an 80 to 112 victory that speaks for itself. But I think the the Thunder have beaten them the last 2 times. So it looks like the Warriors made some adjustments, and it looks like that they are on the right track, especially with beating OKC last night, 112 to 80.
Mhm. No, the Warriors last time they played the Rockets, they beat them by 9. So, do you think the next time, since you're saying right now that they're one of those teams that is making a lot of noise right now in the West, and the next time they play them, do you think it's going to be more competitive of a game that the Rockets could maybe pull one out here?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be competitive. I think the when it comes down to it, I think home court is going to be the most definitely a factor between those teams. With the Warriors fans, they're going to come out by numbers and support the Warriors. And the Rockets, they're going to make sure to, even though that they will most likely be the underdog, they're going to most definitely come out and support their Rockets and James Harden. So I think whoever gets the home court advantage at the end of the season, they're definitely going to have the upper hand with most likely getting to the finals between those 2 teams.
Yeah, it looks like the next time we'll possibly see that matchup is going to be in the playoffs, because that series right now is just split at 1-1. Actually, 1-2.
I think it's 1 and 2 because they play 4 times. So I think they got to play one more time before the playoffs start.
So just to let you guys know, sometimes here on the fan show we do kind of shoot from the hip, if you haven't noticed there. But yeah, what's some other news that you wanted to get into?
Something just off the riff, watching some of the post-game shows with Jalen Rose and actually Chris Bosh has joined. I don't think Chris Bosh is going to be on there permanently, but he was just on there tonight. And they were talking about Dewhite Howard and how he's just like disappeared. And it's just like we went from being one of the most dominant players, not just in a center position, but just one of the most dominant players, scoring, triple doubles or double doubles nightly, to just disappearing and just becoming a non-factor, from being an all-star to winning. I think he won this dunk contest when he became the new Superman, and he just disappeared after he went from LA to Houston to Atlanta, and now he's in Charlotte, and he's just disappeared.
Right. Do you feel like his career is pretty much over?
I don't think it's over. I think he would maybe have 1 or 2 good more years if he would just care. I think that's all that matters, that he just doesn't care anymore, because he still has the ability to dominate games. Like, he was supposed to be the new Shaq. Like, he has the body, he has the strength, he has the post-game move if he worked with it. Even if he doesn't have post-game moves, he had the I guess mentors, you could say, to help him, especially in LA. He had Kareem, he had Kobe, probably even had Shaq, coaching him to try to get his game down low together. But when somebody thinks they know everything, you really can't tell him nothing.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the biggest disappointment just with Dwight Howard is that when he came to Atlanta, you felt like that he was the type of player that you saw with Orlando, with the Magic, and it seemed like he was the exact opposite of that, and you wondered where he went. He was pretty much a shell of himself, to say the least, but it looks like from what you're saying that his career now has deteriorated. And where do you think this not caring, like you said, where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I don't think that he has the desire to be like a superstar anymore, because he'll have probably good games where he'll probably score 20 with might be 10 rebounds, but then the next night, nothing. So it's just his ability and passion to play, I don't think is there anymore.
Do you think it's one of those things? Excuse me, go ahead. Well,
I was going to say, you have Joel Embiid. He's out here just lighting it up right now. So you have players like that he was just eating in pregame. I think he was getting like a massage. He was on the sideline. He was eating a burger. So you have players like that 90 minutes before a game doing things like that, but they're also bringing it on the floor. But you have a Dewhite Howard who has the veteran experience, being probably in the NBA 10 plus years. They can't bring it back to back to back to back, because you don't have to be a superstar. You don't have to always be consistent. You can have off games, but it's just like you have to, when the time is right, you have to make sure that come with it for your team.
Right, come game time, that you have to turn it on. So, do you think it's one of those things that he knows that he's not one of the superstars in the league, and that kind of bothers him, and he has a defeatist attitude now?
I don't think it's necessarily that. It might have been like the team. Of course, he didn't really enjoy his time in LA. He might not have gotten like privileges he wanted to get. So then he moved on to Houston. I mean, you have James Harden there. I mean, if you can't get along, and not just get along, if you can't make a effort when you have Kobe next to you, and then move on and also have a James Harden next to you, and you can't make it. I don't even think they made it. If they did make the playoffs in Houston, it wasn't but maybe 1 year, and they probably was out the first round. If you have these type of players that are your teammates, and you can't make like at least a playoff run, then that means something is wrong with you and what you're doing to prepare yourself.
Very, very interesting. Good stuff. Now I have to ask you, what are you looking forward to this week in the NBA? Are there any games that you kind of have your eye on, or just players in certain matchups in games that you're excited about? I'm really excited about how OKC is going to finish the season, and where exactly they're going to be in the playoff run, because I think that's going to be a surprising team. Andrew Wiggins and Towns, I think his name is Carl Anthony Towns, if I'm not mistaken, his teammate in Minnesota. I'm excited to see about what they do in the playoffs as well, since, of course, the Timberwolves were, ever since Kevin Garnett's been there, they haven't really had too much playoff experience. So I'm very excited to see about them, and also who's going to come out in the East, because that's also going to be down to the wire. Right. Now that we're getting into March, that March is the month that matters, especially if you're fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah, because any team can beat. I think I said this before. Any professional team can beat any other professional team at any given night, but it counts when you need that game.
and also during the playoffs as well. That's when you separate the good teams from the bad teams.
Right. Well, thank you for joining the show today, Gregory.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. What's a place that we can reach you at if we want to? If we have questions about the NBA or things that you talked about that people want to talk to you about on Twitter or in social media in general, where can we? What's the best place to reach you at?
Mm-hmm. Follow me on Instagram and also on Twitter at Reporter Gregory. It's spelled just the way it sounds, ReporterGregory. And ask me questions, debate with me, whatever you want to do. Just don't get disrespectful.
Yes, let's just be adults and not troll one another. All right. Well, thank you, Gregory, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to end the show talking about the Grapefruit League, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is spring training. That's what they call the teams that do their spring training in Florida. Is the Grapefruit League. I don't know why exactly they call that there, but that is one of the fruits that grows down there in Florida is grapefruits. So, but that's all besides the point. I know as a Braves fan, I know Braves fans, especially this time of year, feel just optimism. There's optimism in the air, and I don't know if it's because as Southerners that we don't really respond well to winter. We don't like winter. And now that the calendar has changed and you get more milder weather that you can just, the t-shirt type weather, that we just feel optimistic about our Braves. And I don't know if that has something to do with the history of winning 14 division titles in a row and one World Series, if that's the history, because a lot of the Braves following and a lot of the Braves fans that became Braves fans in the 90s, in the heyday of when they were winning consistently. You had great players like the pitching staff, like Greg Maddux and Smoltz and Tom Glavine and David Justice, and those heydays of those Atlanta Braves who had great careers. But at the same time, where I'm going with this is you don't want to pay too much attention to spring training, but I am going to bring it up because this is the first weekend where they had actual games, even though these games don't really count for anything, but they're somewhat of a benchmark. And your Atlanta Braves right now are 0-3 in spring training. That's not necessarily good. I mean, you lost to the Mets the first game on Friday, 6-2. You lost to the Astros 6-1, and granted, the Astros won the World Series this past year. You also lost to Washington 9-3, and it's not like and all these losses you got blown out of the water. So I don't know if you're having a really slow start at spring training. Like I said, you don't really want to put too much stock into spring training. Spring training is kind of like a preseason game for. It's like an NFL preseason game. These games don't really count for anything. They're there to help you to get better, and hopefully the Braves have seen the error of their ways, and I still think there's reason to be optimistic because you have a young team. I hopefully maybe this is just coming from optimism that hopefully you can see the Atlanta Braves in the postseason, or at least competing for a slot in the postseason. But getting in the postseason in baseball is no small task. As you all are aware, but at the same time, this is a young team. They are working some things out, but I feel like you can be optimistic with the young guys like Dansby Swanson and Newcomb, and guys like that. And obviously they have guys who experience like Ender Inciarte and Friedman. So I feel like right now they shouldn't be too young of a team, but still I think that's probably the pass that a lot of people are going to give the Braves organization, is because they're young, especially if they come out to a slow start. And but I feel like even though you're not supposed to put a lot of stock in this, I feel like at the same time you still want to see your team win these games, because I remember the Atlanta Falcons lost all of their preseason games, and they were a sub 500 team that year. So hopefully the struggles that they're having in spring training right now, just on optimism. Now I just want to leave this on optimism. No, hopefully these struggles that this team can rally, and we can see a different Braves team here at SunTrust Park in Cobb County come real ball time, when the games really matter for something. Hopefully we can see a different team than we are seeing right now. Just want to say thanks again to Gregory Mollett for coming on the show. Always appreciate his insight into the NBA. So be sure to stay on Fan's Favorite Fan to read his articles about the NBA if you're interested in what he talked about tonight. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, go check out fansfavoritefan.com. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be an article that we've written recently that you're going to be interested in, or another unique thing that we do here on fansfavoritefan.com is we have a photographer on staff, and he goes to different events that we cover and takes photos. So if you're not really interested in articles and you're interested in pictures, I was kind of like that at one time, be sure to check out our photo galleries of different Atlanta United games that we've covered in the past, and we've covered a Georgia Tech game before. So if you're interested in and recently too, we covered one of the preseason Atlanta United games, and our photographer took just really cool pictures. So be sure to check out that asset of the website. I think you guys are going to enjoy that. So it is fansfavoritefan.com. Now that you listen to the podcast, it's okay to turn me off and go check out fansfavoritefan.com. So be sure to check that out. Also, too, appreciate you guys listening to the website. Appreciate you joining me on your Monday or Tuesday or maybe Wednesday. Hopefully, I gave you some relief from the stressful job you work, or just kind of took you out of your reality that you're in, and just got to chill with me and listen to some sports talk. That's why we're here. That's what we're all about, is to serve you guys, the guys that work stressful jobs, the guys that just don't want to hear about any other chatter except sports. So I hope that this podcast served that purpose, and if it did, if you like what you heard with the Fan Show, be sure to give it a like on SoundCloud. If you listen on SoundCloud or you found us on YouTube, be sure to hit that like button, because that's the ways that you can see the podcast online. We are on YouTube at Fans Favorite Fan Show. We're also on SoundCloud at Fans Favorite Fan. So you just type those things into the search engine on both those media websites, and you will find the podcast on both of them. So be sure to check that out also too on the YouTube page. Just give a shout out to the YouTube page. We do have a lot of cool videos and interviews. We even have a interview of R.J. Hunter from back in the day when he was at Georgia State. So if you're a fan of R.J. Hunter, and Gregory Mollett interviewed him. So if you want to check out that interview, go to the YouTube page to check that out. And just to give you kind of a highlight of what we got coming up here on the Fan Show on Thursday, which you might listen to it on Friday, which is cool as well. But we also have Ned Case coming back on the show, and it is North Carolina and Duke week. That's all I really have to tell you about. That's the big game coming up this weekend, and we're going to just break it down. We're going to break down that game for you, give you a unique perspective that you're not getting from ESPN. So be sure to check out that podcast when it lands. Also, too, what we're doing on Fridays is we have our football Fridays, and football is a sport that we can talk about all year round because people can't just get enough of football. So we are rolling out all of our football coverage out on Friday, and we're going to have David Berger joining us, and he recently went to a coach's clinic because he does some coaching on the side. So we're going to get a unique insight into that coach's clinic because he recently met Gus Malzahn, and we're going to see if you know anything about David just from Twitter or just from his personal life. He has an interesting perspective on Gus Malzahn. So we'll get to talk to David about that interaction. I know it's going to be interested. So that's the next two shows coming up. So be sure to check out those podcasts when they land on the internet because it's definitely worth it. We appreciate the Towers high school community for checking out our interview with David Mango. Very cool interview that we had. So if you're part of the Towers high school community in Decatur, Georgia, and you haven't listened to that interview, be sure to check that one out. That is episode 46. So be sure to check that one out too to hear my interview with David Mango. So very cool interview that I got to do with him, and but we appreciate the feedback from that that interview. So if you have any comments, be sure to put that in the comment section of what you think of the show, or it's your way to interact with the Fan Show. Also, too, you can holler at me out on Twitter if you send me a cool tweet that I feel like is cool to say on to read on air. I will read it on air. I am Alexander71004. Alexander71004. That is my Twitter handle, and I'm going to put that in the show description. So be sure to holler at me on Twitter. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and hopefully I got you through your weekday struggles. Fan Show episode 47 is out.